main concepts. First, we talk about the command line arguments and the flow control. So flow control is actually the way we want our code to run. Yeah. So we'll be able to see how do we handle the way we want our code to run. How do we do the flow control, or how do we apply the flow control concept. And then we also discuss about data structures. Yeah, here we talk about the list, the tuples, we talk about the dictionaries. Yeah, we talk about the sets also. So here on sets we'll talk about the and or, which we had also a discussion on. We also already have a discussion. And then we talk about the string operators and the format specifiers. We also discuss functions and generators, file handling and exceptional handling, and then last we'll cover regular expression and the date and time. Yeah, so this is what we are going to cover in this session. So we have flow control. When you talk about flow control, is the essential part of Python programming, which allows us to control the execution flow of our programs based on certain conditions. So here we have three ways in which we can control the code execution. First, we have three statements. First, we have conditional statements, we have transfer statements, and then we have iterative statements, right? So on conditional statements, we start with if, elif, and the if, elif, else conditions. And then in transfer statements, we have break, we have continue, and then we have bus. And lastly, on iterative statements, we have for and we have while. So this is what we cover in flow control. So we start with the if statement. So for the if statement, this is what we have. Let me get my pen. We have if statement. So in the if statement, we have an if. Yeah, we have an if condition. We have an if condition, right? And then we have a statement. So we have the condition, we have full colonies. Yeah, and then we have the statements. So we'll have, for example, statement 1. We have statement 1. We have statement 1. We have statement 2, and so on. Yeah, we have statement 2 and so on. So that is for the if condition. So the if condition is true, then statements will be executed. Yeah, if this condition is true, then these statements will be executed, right? That is for the if statement. I think we'll get more picture of this when we'll be doing the practical on the same. Then we have if, elif statements, all conditional statements. So for the if, elif conditional statements, this is the syntax of it. We have if, yeah, we have if condition, we have if condition, yeah, and then we have our first action, or what we want to do in the if condition, the first if condition. Then we have our action. Yeah, we have our action. For example, this is action 1. Then we have the second part of it, elif. Yeah, so we have L if, we have L if, then we have a condition, right? We have a condition, and then we have now our second action. We have our second action, so this is action 2. So this is what happens if the if condition is true. If this if condition is true, then our first action is executed. Yeah, but if the first condition is false, then we go to the L if condition. Yeah, then we go to L if condition, whereby we execute our action 2. So that is for the if L if condition. Remember, we said for the if condition, it is executed, these statements are executed if this condition is true. So that is for the if L if. And then we have if L if else condition. If L if else conditional statements. So how does this code get executed? Or how do we control the execution of this code? So this is what happens for the if L if else condition. First, we have if condition, right? We have if condition. So this is assuming it is condition 1, and then I have my first action. So this is action 1. Yeah, I'm using A to represent action. And then again I have an L if condition. So I have L if condition. So this will give me my second condition. So this is condition 2. Yeah, and then of course it has its action. So this is action 2. And then I have another L if, right? So I have L if, and then I have condition. So this is condition 3. And then of course I have action. Let me proceed here. I have action 3. Yeah, again I have L if. Yeah, so I can proceed to a lot of L if conditions. And then I have the else. Yeah, so I have else, then I have a certain action. For example, I can talk of a default action. So for this if else conditional statements, this is what happens. It will check the first condition, the first if condition. If the first if condition is false, if this first if condition is false, I will go to the second condition. I will check again. If this second L if condition is false, I will go to condition 3. If this condition is true now, I will execute this condition 3. So I will execute this. That is if this L if condition is true. But if on another code, if my first condition is true, I will execute this first condition and then exit the if else block of code. So I will execute the first if condition and then I will leave the rest of the code, right? And then we have the else condition. So we have else. So how do we come to an else? When our if condition is false, else if condition 2 is false, else if condition 3 is false, I will go to the else condition. So here I will have a default action. For example, I can talk of maybe division, zero division error. Yeah, so that is the else condition that is executed if all the conditions are false. And then we have iterative statements. So on iterative statements, we use this iterative statement to write a program explicitly without program. We use the iterative statements to write a program without explicitly being programmed. When I say without explicitly being programmed, is the case where I want to reduce the length of my code. For example, I want to print the values from 1 to 10. Yeah, I want to print the values from 1 to 10. So I could say print 1, print 2, print 3, all the way up to 10, right? So up to 10. So instead of me writing all these statements, I can think of the iterative statement for control conditions. Yeah. So what I can do, I can create a condition whereby I'm able to iterate and then print this value in just 3 or 2 single lines of code. Yeah. For example, let me say I want to let me erase this. I want to print the values from 1 to 10. Yeah. So I could say, I could define a variable, for example, I equals to 0. And then I have the for condition for I is less than 10. And then I say print I. Right? So this code will print me up to 10 values. Instead of writing print 1, print 2, print 3, print 4, this single 3 lines of code will print me up to 10 total number of values. So that is what I mean by explicit programming. So we have the for loop or the for iteration statement. So if we want to execute some action for every element present in some sequence, then that is where we need to use the for condition or for iterative statement. So as I've said, I have my for and then I have my sequencing. Yeah, I have my sequencing. So I have I in I less than 10. I'm going to check. So what I do, I first print 0, right? I check if 0 is less than 10. So I get it is false. I print 1. Again I check. So I print this, I can check my condition. If 1 is less than 10, I print 2. Again I get into the loop. I check if 2 is less than 10. I get it is false. I print 3. Again I check. I do repeating the same up to, let me say, 9. So 9 is less than 10. Yeah, I've checked and I've print 9. And then we have 10. Yeah, so 10, when I say I is less than 10, I to be 10, and then my condition is I is less than 10. That will be false. Yeah, so I will not print 10 because I is not less than 10. If I had I is less than or equals to 10, then I will print also 10 here. So that is for the case of the for loop. So here we following the sequence of this iteration. And then we have the while loop. Similar to while, we can have also a single statement of codes which prints up to a given number of values. Yeah, so we'll have a while condition. We'll have a while condition. Yeah, we have a while condition. Yeah, and then we have the body of this condition. Yeah, so we are trying to check also. So the moment we get that our condition is false, that is when we exit out of the loop. Yeah, when we get our condition to be false, that is the moment we exit our loop. So that is how this for loop and iterative state and the while loop works, right? And then we have the transfer statements. We do a much on this in a practical. We'll be able to understand more on it. Then we have the transfer statements, whereby we have the break, continue, and pass. So these transfer statements, or we call them jump statements. Yeah. So these statements, we use them to come out of a loop without stopping the loop. Yeah, we use this transfer statement to come out of the loop. So we have the break statement, we have the continue statement, then we have the pass statement. So when we talk about the break statement, we can use break statements inside the loop to break the loop execution based on certain condition. So this is used inside the loop. Yeah, and then we have also continue. So we can use continue statement to skip current iteration and continue to the next iteration. Yeah, so if we had 2 iterations, we have our first for iteration, and then we have our second for iteration. So we can have continue in the first for iteration, which we'll use to skip this iteration, and then we go to our next iteration. That is for the continue statement. And then pass statement, we use simply to pass to skip a given code iteration. Yeah, that is for the pass transfer statements. So I think that gives us a detailed summary on these statements in this control flow. So let's try to now have a look at this. We have iterative statements, we have loops. Iterative statements are used to write a program without explicitly programmed. So there are different types of loops, including for loop, while loop, and nested loops. Okay, for the nested loops, here is sometimes we can take a loop inside another loop. That is what we refer to as nested loop. A loop inside another loop, and then they help us in executing a block of code repeatedly. Yeah, so we have for I in a range of 1 to 5. Yeah, so we'll have we'll print statement from 1 to 5. That is for the for statement or the for loop. Yeah, and then we have the while, we have a condition, then we have our statement, and then we have if. So we have nested statement. If x is equal to to z. Then we have sum equals to 0, I equals to 0, while I is less than 10. Sum equals to sum plus I, print sum, and then I equal to I plus 1. So here I'm trying to print the values from 0 to 10. So I'm checking if my I equal to 0. Yeah, so my I is equal to 0. I print 0. I come to my while condition. I is less than 10. So I say sum equals to sum, which is 0, plus 0. Print sum. So I print 0, and then I have this code. I is equal to I plus 1. So I have 0 plus 1, which gives me 1. So now my new I will be 1. So now I remove this 0, I have 1. Right? So I come here, I check my condition. Is I, which is 1, less than 10? Yes. So I continue. Sum equals to sum plus I. So remember, my sum is 0 plus 1 now. So here I have 1. So 0 plus 1 gives me 1. So I print this one. And then I come here. Now I have 1 plus 1. Right? So I get 2. So my new value for I is now 2. So I move this one. I get 2. So I check this condition. Is 2 less than 10? Yes. I come in, say this while loop, sum equal to sum plus 1. Remember, my I is now 2. So this one is gone. I say 2. So sum, which is 0 plus 2, which is 2. Then I print my 2. Right? I come here. Now I have okay, I have my 2. Yeah. So now 2 plus 1, which gives me 3. Again, I go, I check. I do repeating the process up to the last value. Yeah, up to a point where I is less than 10. So that is how the while loop works. And then let's try to read through this. Transfer statement, jump statement. Jump statement are used to come out from the loop without stopping the loop execution. That is what I've already said. Then you have break statement, which is used to break statement inside loops to break loop execution based on some conditions. Then you have continue, whereby continue is used to continue statement to skip the current iteration and then continue to the next iteration. I've already discussed about this. And then pass statement, here we are told is simply a keyword in byte to know, but I said pass statement is used to pass through a given code. It actually doesn't have much to do in our code.